Oh, baby, it's rivalry week. Rams versus 49ers in primetime on Thursday Night Football and the battle for first place in the NFC West. How are these Rams going to win that ball game and claim first place? Well, I'll talk about that next on this Keys to Victory episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any Rams-related video from our channel for the rest of this 2025 campaign. And if you're on the audio-only or podcast-only side of things, share this audio, share this podcast with all your fellow Rams fans. Any of those options, I very much appreciated. And here I am on this episode riding solo as Mark is taking the day off. He'll be back later this week. And gosh, everyone, I am so damn excited. Yes, Rams versus 49ers in this Keys to Victory episode on week 5 in prime time on Amazon for all you guys who have Amazon Prime and can watch it, or you have wink, wink, other ways of seeing your favorite games. You know what I mean? Everyone out there, RIP to all the other streaming sites. Again, wink, wink. But man, what a huge game this is, as anytime there is a big matchup between these two teams, whether the Rams have a bad record, whether the 49ers have a record, or in this case, two teams that are both 3-1 at this point, and the Rams beating the Colts this past week, the 49ers losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, even though they're pretty dang beat up and a lot of their important players are hurt, they're still finding ways to win ball games. And that's a credit to Shanahan and Lynch and their operation over there for finding ways to still be successful and pull off W's. And that's what matters most in the whole grand scheme of things, ain't it? But I think before we get into these keys to winning this ball game, what is the Rams versus 49ers history within the last 5 games? But more importantly, how about the grand scheme of everything? Let's pull that up real quick. As if you're seeing here on YouTube, you can follow along with me with the visuals. Stathead Football having this nice stat for us. The Rams in the regular season are 70, 77, and 3 in those matchups. Again, in the regular season. Not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought these, the Rams would be a little less in the victory column. So that's good to see. And then there are 2 playoff matchups, 1-1 in their history. Obviously, the most important one was that 2021/2022 NFC Championship game, which then propelled the Rams to beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl in 2021, 22, 22, excuse me. So, hey, 70, 77, and 3. These teams have played each other a gazillion times over the years, whether it was the old NFC West with the Falcons and the Saints being in there, or the new modern one with the Seahawks and the Cardinals. NorCal versus SoCal, the Bay versus LA, or, Santa Clarita, or wherever they're at now. Not part of the Bay Area County, as I found out from some friends a while back, which is kind of funny. But hey, a long, heated battle, many heated games throughout the history. But how about the last 5 games between these two teams? As we pull that up here, 2022 was the 31-14, bad loss when it was still the disaster season. Everyone was hurt. No one was ready to go. And the game was good at halftime, and then things just got away from them in that 2022 matchup, if you want to remember any of that. Then 2023, it was a game where Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell went off when they were filling in for an injured Kupp, right? But they lost barely. And 1-1 at the time, I believe that was the record after they beat the Seahawks in a surprise game. So, hey, the Rams ended up having a nice season overall because, hey, in the Carson Wentz Sam Darnold Bowl game, if you remember a little bit later that year, the last game of the year, Carson Wentz was quarterbacking to get Puka Nacua to break all the rookie records. So that was that 21-20 win. Then 2024, the Rams started to turn the tide where they beat the Niners in a comeback victory with both teams dealing with injuries, right? No Nakua, no Cup. Tutu Atwell had a bomb. Xavier Smith had a great punt return, and then the Rams kicked a game-winning field goal to win at SoFi Stadium. And then late in the year on prime time as well, in the rain, where the weather made Matthew Stafford look bad for a majority of the game, definitely made Brock Purdy look bad a majority of the game, but they were able to pull that off 12-6. And let's pull up those last matchup results as both teams were still fighting for playoff hopes and dreams. Then the Rams 8-6, 49ers 6-8. Matthew Stafford only threw for 160. Probably could have had a couple interceptions to Hufunga and others, but they couldn't catch it. The ball was slippery. It was a mess. Kyren Williams had over 100 yards rushing in that rainy, crappy weather, which was good to see. And Nakua, if you remember, he had a big bomb late in that game that led to his 7 receptions for 97 total yards. And then Brock Purdy had a bad game, 142, 1 INT. Remember, he forced it to Juwan Jennings, and was that Darius Williams snagged it at the end of that game. That was good. Isaac Guerrero was their leading rusher and receiver in that game, as Christian McCaffrey was dealing with a knee injury, and he was done for the season at that point. So very, very different circumstances back then. The teams were different. Teams were battling, and the defenses balled out in that crappy weather, but the Rams did get the victory. So, hey, in the last 5 matchups, Rams are 3-2. Obviously, the Carson Wentz, Sam Darnold backup bowl was entertaining. But the last 2 times these teams faced each other with starters playing, and it was significant, the Rams have won, and they swept them in the 2024 campaign. And here will be the first matchup coming up on primetime football, which is fun for sure. But how about this roster overall, my fellow Rams Nation, Ramley, whatever names you all enjoy to be called? They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and there's a lot of people that are beat up and will not be playing, but we still got to go through and talk about this roster as a whole. But how about starting with the 49ers offense? What is their base offense? Well, every team in the NFL now is not just going standard 1 tight end, 2 receivers, 2 running backs like 1990s and back, or even early 2000s, truthfully. Their base package is 11 personnel, 1 running back, 1 tight end making up that 11, and then you have 3 wide receivers left over. And the 49ers offense is no different. As we pull up the depth chart with this team, and I think as I go back here, apologies on that, it's a group that has been productive but are dealing with injuries. But we'll go down this list, and starts with at the top here of this depth chart, Juwan Jennings, who absolutely smoked us in the last Rams 49ers game at SoFi Stadium. If you remember, he had a career day. Brock Purdy was throwing around the yard all day to him, and he was unstoppable. But he's beat up. We'll see if he plays on Thursday. Then you have the future Hall of Fame level left tackle, Trent Williams. He's been a Pro Bowler. He's been an All-Pro, and he's been absolutely lights out, even from his Washington days. He's fantastic. Even he's a little bit older, maybe isn't as holy crap, we can't get through this guy. He's still one of the best linemen in the league. There's no doubt about that. Then you got left guard, Connor Colby, center, Jake Brendel, right guard, Dominic Pooney, right tackle, Colin McKivitz, and then at tight end, filling in for an injured George Kittle, who will not be playing in this matchup as he is on injury reserve. You got Luke Farrell, who's been productive, and so has his backup, Jake Tongs, excuse me if I don't say his name correctly the first time. They've been productive. They've been getting thrown to. They've been making their catches, so they're no slouch. And then you have Ricky Pearsall exploding after almost dying last year, getting robbed out there in the Bay Area. Man, he's a lucky son of a gun for surviving that brutal moment in his life. But he's rebounded with his health, with learning the Shanahan playbook, and he's been pretty dang good. So he's been a difference maker. But will he play with a knee injury that kept him out majority of that Jacksonville game this past week? We shall see. And then the Pro Bowl, All-Pro level running back, Christian McCaffrey, as he's still an awesome running back. He may not be as home run hitting as in years past, but a lot of it has to do with the O-line, in my opinion. But he's still dangerous. And funny enough, speaking of him, he was on a podcast recently. I want to say, was it George Kittle's or some 49ers podcast? I'm blanking exactly. And he talked about how his agent called him late in the night when he was going to get traded from Carolina. And his agent said, yeah, Rams are going to pull the trigger. you're going to be a Ram. And McCaffrey definitely thought that. Then in the last moment, then the 49ers stepped in and outbid the Rams as they offered a couple different premium draft picks. But if you remember back then, Rams Nation, the 22 campaign, the Rams were dealing with injuries. They were not playing well, and they were trying to make insane trades in that run it back, let's go back-to-back championships mentality. And a good thing it didn't happen, because with those premium draft picks that the Rams offered, it was a second, it was a third, it was a couple fourths, a fifth. It was a good haul. No first rounders, but it was still valuable draft picks. They flipped all those picks into what eventually became offensive lineman Steve Avila for us, which eventually became defensive tackle Kobe Turner for us, and that eventually became D tackle Braden Fisk. So those second, third, fourth, fifth, all those eventually got flipped with trades, with just staying put, etc., turned into those three starting players. And it's one of those trades that I look back and say, man, in the long haul of things, that worked out, because everyone got hurt in 2022. The McCaffrey trade would have looked terrible because eventually everyone would have gotten hurt anyway, right? Kupp, Stafford, Donald, all the linemen, Allen Robinson. We can go down the list. It was a disaster with injuries that year, and it would have been a bad trade. So sometimes, Rams Nation, the trades that don't happen with this organization, right? That one, the Brian Burns trade getting turned down, and others I'm blanking on probably. Sometimes it's better that way. And looking back now with McCaffrey's comments in the last couple of days talking about how he thought he was going to be a Ram, thank God, again, we got Steve Avila, Kobe Turner, and Braden Fisk instead of McCaffrey. I think that worked out pretty good in the long haul in terms of just team building, team success overall. What say you? So outside of that little side story there, Kyle Juszczyk, the All-Pro, Pro Bowl, do-it-all, pseudo tight end / fullback player. He's a kick-ass dude, blocking, receiving. He can do it all. And then Brock Purdy. He's had good moments against us. He's had bad moments like that rain game, but he's been a Pro Bowl level player as well. And then you'll see some Kendrick Bourne. He returns to the 49ers. You'll probably see some maybe even a little bit of Sky Moore, the Super Bowl champion from the Chiefs, play because of the injuries to the wide receiver core. And then, done with his suspension, not listed on this depth chart, will be our former touchdown maker, Demarcus Robinson, who was scoring all the damn time last season for us and seemed like the only guy in the receiver room that could catch any touchdowns. He is now done with his suspension. He will likely start and play a ton for the 49ers as well. So with that, you have Mac Jones, who's already filled in and played pretty solid for Brock Purdy. And really, the drop-off between him and Brock Purdy hasn't been any different. You can even argue Mac Jones has played better and more efficient than Brock Purdy this year, as Brock Purdy's been very gunslinger. He's been forcing a lot of passes. He's been taking a lot of risks, and they haven't paid off. Mac Jones has been a lot more conservative, and they've won games. And as Mac Jones starting, they haven't lost a ball game, obviously. We're only 4 games into the season, but interesting. And then let's not forget the trade for Brian Robinson Jr., a starting level running back, in my opinion, from Washington to now the San Francisco 49ers. He's a hell of a player to rotate in and get carries to. So this group on paper, we shall see who plays, but this is a group that has a chance to be productive, to be explosive when they want to. But the main issue is that O-line, and we'll get to that a little bit afterwards. But how about now moving on to the defense? The 49ers defense, with Robert Saleh returning as he got canned in New York with the Jets, but not a shock with that ownership and their chaos and how they run things, that a lot of coaches don't last there very long if they have any success, or if they don't, either or, things don't work out long term, unfortunately, for anyone getting hired there. So he gets canned, then he returns to the 49ers, which his defenses have always given us problems. Let's be honest about it. They always have. And what do they run? They run a 4-3 style defense. Rams want to run a 3-4. 49ers run a 4-3. So what does that look like? If you're here on YouTube, you can look at the visual with me here. You get 2 traditional D tackles and 2 traditional defensive ends. Usually all these guys are in a 3-point stance. They're not standing up like our outside linebackers do, a la Byron Young, Jared Verse, and Josiah Stewart, et cetera, et cetera. So these guys all hand in their 3-point stance, and DNs usually are bigger bodied guys. They're not dropping in the coverage. You're not moving them around like you see our outside linebackers. So that's it. And then their linebackers are three traditional standing behind the D line, two outside linebackers, and then you have a middle linebacker, of course, with your two corners, two safeties. And then everyone runs tons of nickel package, right? 5 DBs on the field, tons of dime, 6 DBs. And they have other cheetah packages, right? Your fastest guys, your rhino packages where you have all your strongest dudes and goal line, et cetera, et cetera. But the main defense that Robert Saleh has been successful with and has always ran is a 4-3 defense. So, how about moving on to that defense and who is on this team? Well, I have here crossed out, if you notice immediately, Bosa, as he tore his knee, and they're not necessarily putting him in IR, I don't think yet, which is curious, but regardless of how they want to handle that transaction wise, he is crossed out there as he was, penciled in as a starter. He's done for the year. We will not see him this game or the next game later this year. That's unfortunate for them, as the 49ers are just beat up all the time. It's really, really crazy to see. So he's penciled out. You'll see, Yorgos Gross Matos, who has been a good rotational player throughout his career. He'll probably get the start and get a lot of playing time. So will likely Bryce Huff fill in. And then you have their first round pick, Mykel Williams, who has a lot of potential. He's playing the run really, really good right now. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then one of their defensive tackles, you got Calais Davis, Jordan Elliott. You'll see some Alfred Collins and CJ West as well. Then at linebacker, you'll see Luke Gifford in the base package. D Winters, one of their new starters there at the other will linebacker spot. And then, of course, the Pro Bowl, all-pro level guy, Fred Warner there in the middle, the Mike linebacker. He's fantastic. He's one of the best. He does some dirty BS you'll see every now and then. I remember, a couple years ago, late hitting Matthew Stafford when he threw a pick, and he just totally, blindside smacked into him when Stafford wasn't even around the ball carrier to make a tackle. That was whack. This last week, and I get it, Trevor Lawrence took a long time to take a knee, and you can say, hey, if the quarterback's going to do that, defense should keep playing. I get all that, but Fred Warner unnecessarily leaped into the, victory formation of the Jaguars and got, rolled up on one of the starting left guards for Jacksonville, and he jacked up his ankle and got hurt on that. So that's some BS that I didn't like. But regardless of all the dirtiness that you can claim with this 49ers team and Fred Warner, he's a baller. He's a beast. He's one of the best in the game. He's a Hall of Fame level talent, no doubt about it. Then at corner, you got Renardo Green, Demondre, I can't even say his name right now. Lenore. I'm just going to go with that. My reading with his name right now. Too many M's and O's in that name right now for me. Excuse me on that, Lenore, if you're watching this. And then you got Upton Stout, Jason Pinnock, and then Marquis Sigel. And then you'll maybe see some little bit of Chase Lucas and other guys. But a group that, hey, it's turned over completely with Hufanga leaving, with Tre'Davious Ward leaving, with other guys not being re-signed, and et cetera, et cetera. So a group that you look overall and you say, hey, Fred Warner is the only megastar that's available to play for defense, but they got a lot of guys that are playing good football as a unit. It's a group that you cannot overlook just because you don't recognize all the names there and just because Bosa's gone for the year. This group, being coached by Robert Saleh, is still one hell of a defense, in my opinion, and they've been a big reason why they've been staying alive in games outside of some good play calling from the offensive side of things, like Shanahan scheming guys open, et cetera, et cetera. But how about the specialists, right? One last group in terms of the roster. You got Thomas Morstead, who's been a Pro Bowler. He seems like he's been playing for a long time and punting footballs. He's the holder and the punter. Eddie Pinheiro, as they bailed on their Jake Moody draft pick, as they drafted him pretty high and it didn't work out. He got, the yips, and he was a fantastic kicker in Michigan, but none of that translated well to the NFL. And they bailed on him, let him go, and then Pinheiro is now filling in. And then, hey, Super Bowl champion Sky Moore is their punt returner. You'll see him on some kick return duties as well. And then Isaac Guerendo, the speedster running back, who we saw in the last matchup, getting some carries, and he's got a home running hitting ability with his running style. He is their kick returner as well. So a good return specialist group, in my opinion, a good punter. You got a kicker who's now reliable. And overall, as a roster, again, we'll see who plays on offense. We'll see who plays on defense with people just banged up and injured for whatever reason or another that seems to bother the 49ers and be a pain in their ass every single year for the last 5-6 years, it feels like. We'll see. But assuming that a lot of guys do play, who are the 49ers' best players, right? Who are 5 guys that we know are going to be out there, or we're going to assume are going to be out there, that guys aren't on injured reserve or on the physically unable to perform list or are still recovering from injuries, et cetera, et cetera? Who are those 5 guys? Well, we'll start with who is available. I think D. Winters, one of the starting linebackers, is one of their best available players right now. He is tackling well. He is, matching the aggressiveness of Fred Warner. As right now, I mean, he's second on the team with 32 total tackles. He's got 24 solo tackles right now, 8 assists, and he's got 3 tackles for loss. He's got a couple passes defended, and he is one of the staples of this defense right now, helping out run defense, making plays in the nickel package, making plays in run defense. And it hasn't been perfect, definitely not. But as of right now, you could say, who are some of the better guys? I think he's definitely one of them after watching some film. But how about another guy? Well, shocker. Fred Warner, the all pro baller. I mean, this guy fools quarterbacks. He is a great sideline to sideline rusher. He has the strength to take on guards and still make a tackle. He's got the speed to run with tight ends and cover in the short areas of the field, the middle, the flats, the little bit behind that, the hook, kind of that intermediate area. He's fantastic. Right now, he's got 38 total tackles, 16 assists, 22 solo. He's got a couple tackles for loss. He's got 3 passes defended. He's caused 2 forced fumbles and has recovered a fumble. I mean, the guy's just an all-pro, Hall of Fame level talent. We definitely have to keep an eye on him. Point out the Mike Center, Coleman Shelton. Point him out, Matthew Stafford. Let's make sure we get double team blocks working off to him, or if you feel like he deserves a double team, so be it. But he can blitz, he can cover. He is the do-it-all Mike linebacker in this modern age of the NFL, and he is one troublemaking dude. You got to keep an eye out for him at all times. And then on offense, now we shall see what's going to happen to Ricky Pearsall. He injured his knee this past week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I get it. But let's just go with he's going to play because 49ers haven't ruled him out. He hasn't practiced. We'll get the injury report later for both teams. But let's just go with he's going to play. Okay? So with that, he has been one of the most productive wide receivers in the entire NFL through these 4 games, which is not shocking based on everyone's potential, right? This is a player that the Rams met with multiple times during the draft process, as I thought his skill set, fit really, really well with what the Rams want to do. And no shock that the Shanahan 49ers also thought that same thing. So they took him in the first round, everyone. But as of today, he is 4th in the entire NFL in receiving yards with 327. He is averaging 16.4 yards per catch. He only has 20 receptions for the entire year. That is ridiculous production. And everything is deep or intermediate. There is no short stuff, which is kind of shocking. I thought he would be more involved in the screen game. But the dude is their number 1 guy with Brandon Ayuk, still recovering from an ACL, which, again, Brandon will not play in this game as he's still recovering from that torn knee he had last year. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. 20 receptions, and he has 327 yards. Again, averaging 16.4 yards per reception. He has no touchdowns yet in the NFL, which is kind of shocking as well. But the dude, whether it be a big second down, big third down, even some fourth down stuff, he has been clutch. He has been money. He has been sure-handed, and he's ran good routes. Again, we shall see if he plays. Let's just go with the assumption that he will be out there. The Rams definitely have to do everything they can to account for him. Do you put Emmanuel Forbes Jr. on him, as Emmanuel is our fastest corner? That makes sense. But he hasn't played the best the last couple of weeks. That could be an issue. But regardless, he is one of their best players. The Rams definitely have to account for him at all times and see where he lines up. Slot, outside, tight by the tight ends O-line. He's one of their best players this year. And man, who would have thought that right out the gate he would be this productive? 20 catches, 327. Crazy. But how about the man that the Rams once wanted in a trade? Christian McCaffrey, as he is still one of their best players. Is he having the best year overall stat-wise? Definitely not. And that has a lot of issues to do with how the how the 49ers are run blocking right now. It's not too good. They're not getting a lot of push. But McCaffrey, 69 carries right now, 225 on the ground. He's averaging only 3.3 yards per carry, which is pretty shocking. But again, a lot of that, in my opinion, has to do with the O-line there in San Fran or Santa Clarita, wink, wink. And he has 0 rushing touchdowns right now, which is also pretty crazy. But what's also is not so crazy is that he is their second leading wide receiver in terms of yardage right now. He has 31 receptions and he has 305 receiving yards with 2 receiving touchdowns, and he's averaging almost 10 yards a catch with 9.8. So you could say, hey, the ground game ain't working, but he is that ultimate dual threat guy, the modern day perfect running back in terms of run and pass. He is killing people in the pass game just as much as he can in the running game, which is, again, it's Ricky Pearsall and then Christian McCaffrey are the most productive pass catchers for the 49ers right now. So Rams, they have to identify him every play. Where is he lining up? Where is Waldo, quote unquote, right? Where is Christian McCaffrey? Is he in the backfield? Okay, is he going to be running routes out of the backfield? Not just a little check down in the middle or a check down left or right swing route. This dude can run complicated routes out of the backfield. And then, of course, line him up out wide like a wide receiver, in the slot, close to the tight end lineman, out wide like an X wide receiver by the sideline. He can, burn people out there. He can route people up. He is a weapon, and the Rams definitely have to keep an eye on him. So it'll be interesting to see. Does Quentin Lake handle him? Does another corner of ours? You can't put a linebacker in him. That's a mismatch in the passing game. Do you put Cam Curl, Cam Kitchens? That'll be interesting to see when he lines out wide or runs routes. Who is responsible for him? Because if they have to have Nate Lemon, Omar Spates, any of our big guys are, tackling linebackers or even any outside linebacker versus Byron, that's just such a mismatch, and we don't want to see that. So McCaffrey, you got to count for him. But the O-line, yes, like I stated, hasn't been, the greatest overall thus far. But Trent Williams, he is an older player, but he's still one of the best tackles in the NFL. Is he the best right now like he has been in year past? A lot of people would say no, including myself, but he's still rock solid. Has he given up, pressures and all that? Of course, no left tackle is, the great, like a giant dam or anything where they're not letting anything in or out. But he's still one of their best players by far. There's no debate on that. And it'll be interesting to see. Will it just be Jared Verse on him majority of the game, right? Best on best. That's going to be fun to see how that works out. Or, do they say, hey, Byron, get your matchups? I think we'll see some rotation. Jared will get his moments. Byron will get his moments. But, of course, Chris Shula does a good job scheming guys up to avoid some of their best O-linemen. You'll see Jared rushing in the middle by the guard center. Same with Byron. So it'll be interesting to see how that matchup goes. But, again, Trent Williams, one of their best players by far, Rams Nation. As again, real quick recap on those 49ers best players right now who are available. D. Winters, a linebacker. Fred Warner, a linebacker. Wide receiver Ricky Pearsall. Trent Williams. And then, of course, Christian freaking McCaffrey. All these guys are fantastic ballers. And we'll see what the heck happens. But again, a quick recap on this 49ers season thus far. They are 3-1 overall with their only loss of the year coming this past week out there in Santa Clara, where they blew that game. Brock Purdy didn't play well, and they lost 21-26. But they did get those 2 division wins early in the year. They beat the Seahawks week 1, 17-13 as they slugged that one out. They beat the New Orleans Saints with Mac Jones playing 26-21. They beat the Arizona Cardinals, so the Cardinals blew that game. just like the Seahawks did, 16-15 with Mac Jones leading the way, and then Brock Purdy coming back and not playing very well against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think have a pretty good defense. Their offense is sputtering, but they're currently first place in the NFC West with those 2 wins against the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So they're in a decent spot right now. Yeah, you can say their schedule's been easy, but to have 2 NFC West games early in the year where things could get wacky, things could get out of hand, they handle business with a beat-up roster, and they got it done, Rams Nation. But how about some head-to-head stats that are important to look at, right? How are the Rams ranked, right? Yards, turnovers, production, and how about the defense? And then we'll compare those with Rams and 49ers. So let's pull that up through these first 4 weeks. So head-to-head stats here. We'll start with the 49ers offense, as they are ranked 23rd with points per game, and they're only scoring 20 points per game right now. That puts them at 23rd in the NFL. If I said that all backwards, apologies. Yards per game, which is kind of shocking. They are top 5. They are ranked 5th with 368 yards per game in the NFL, but they're not scoring a lot of points. They're moving the ball a ton, but they're just not getting the touchdowns, or they have some bad turnovers, which is shocking. So this offense can move the ball. They've been explosive. They've been able to chuck it away, even though they haven't been great in some categories like rushing, which is shocking. Again, a lot of it has to do with the O-line not getting a good push. 88 rushing yards per game, which puts them almost near the bottom of the NFL. That's a shocking stat to see with a Kyle Shanahan-led team. They are 28th in the NFL rushing yards per game with 88. Crazy to see that. Crazy to digest that. But the film don't lie. They're not blocking well up front in the run game. But passing, they are second in the NFL with 288 passing yards per game, whether it's Brock Purdy, Mac Jones. They are getting a lot of production. A lot has to do with Ricky Pearsall. A lot of it has to do with these giant chunk plays. And that is pretty crazy to look that up, Rams Nation. But sacks, they've given up 6. Definitely, near the top of the league, as I thought it would be a lot more based on all that. But they're definitely doing okay. And this is one of the backbreakers. They are first in the NFL with 8 giveaways on their offense, whether it's been Brock Purdy throwing bad interceptions, fumbles, whatever. It's been pretty dang bad through 4 games. Again, they are ranked first with the most giveaways as an offense with 8 in the NFL. So that's what makes sense, right? They're getting all these yards, they're getting all this passing yards overall, but they're turning the ball over and they're screwing themselves by not getting points. So that all makes sense why a lot of these stats don't match up with more production, more points per game, et cetera, et cetera. But how about the Rams defense that'll be going up against that 49ers offense? Points per game, they have 20.3 given up, which puts them in the top 10. They're ranked 10th right now. That's a good sign to see. Yards per game, they're only giving up 284.5, which is top 10. 9th in the entire NFL, 9th best, I should say. Rushing, another top 10 stat for that's fantastic to see as well. They're only giving up 98.5 yards per game on the ground. Again, 10th best in the NFL, which is good to see. And then passing yards per game, 186, which puts them at 9th best in the NFL. Another great thing to see, top 10. And then sacks. Right now, they are in second best with 14 through these first 4 games. That is absolutely fantastic as well to see. You're seeing great production from Byron Young, who has 5 that leads the entire NFL. You're seeing Jared Verse get strip sacks, Josiah Stewart, Kobe Turner. You're seeing Cam Curl, Jalen McCullough. You're seeing tons of guys get involved, whether they're 4-man rushes, blitzes, bluffs, whatever it is. They're getting home to the quarterback, and they're second best with 14, which is absolutely beautiful to see. And 7 takeaways with this Rams defense, which puts them 4th best in the NFL. So this Rams unit through 4 weeks is a top 10 group, and that's what we all said it should be by the end of the season. So they're maintaining that right now. They're playing good football. They're getting to the quarterback. They're causing turnovers. They're defending all aspects of the field solid for the most part, who they've played through these first 4 games, and that's great to see. So now let's move on to the Rams offense. Where are they standing right now through these first 4 games? Well, they are 13th best with 25 points per game. So we hope to see that be a little bit better, but they're pushing into the top 10. Obviously, that Houston game, things got a little wacky with that being a low scoring game, but I expect them to push into the top 10, and we expect that from that group. Yards per game, they are in the top 5. They are 4th best in the NFL with 388.3 total yards per game on offense. That's beautiful to see. And then rushing, also 13th right now, best with 120.8. We hope to see them maintain that or push into the top 10, as I know they're going to throw the ball a ton, but that's good to see. And then passing, 3rd best in the NFL with Matthew Stafford leading the way with 267.5 passing yards per game. Fantastic. The air game is working, whether it's to Nacua, to Devontae, to Tutu, and a tight end every once in a while, hopefully a little bit more, but they've been super productive, and that's been great to see. And they've given up 8 sacks, which is middle tier of the NFL. It's not too bad. It's not great, but we hope with hopefully Steve Avila returning, Kevin Dotson and Rob Havenstein feeling better with their ankle injuries, that they could heal up. And again, I know the football season is anyone truly healthy ever, but they can start feeling better, get a better anchor with their feet and block, to their capabilities. Then I think they'll maintain being on the better side of that, hopefully. And of course, Stafford getting rid of the ball so fast helps a ton. And then with the turnovers, they are only giving the ball away 4 times, which is, 17th, which is good. You don't want to be near the top of that list. So they're on the lower half of the league, meaning that they're not giving away the football a ton, which is a good thing to see with only 4 giveaways. That's really, really good. Now, let's flip to the 49ers defense and where they've been productive and not. But this has been a good group, Rams Nation. Points per game, they've only given up 18.8, which puts them at 7th best in the NFL. That's a top 10 stat for them right there. Yards per game overall, they've only given up 280.5, which is 5th best in the entire NFL. That's fantastic to see. And then you get 115.5 rushing yards per game. This is where you can get them, though. That is 17th best. So they're on the lower tier of the NFL in terms of that. They've been giving up the run a little bit more than what I thought it would be, but hey, they're still playing good overall football, again, with the yards per game being really good under the solid defense. And then passing yards given up per game with only 165, that is 6th best in the NFL, as this unit is playing together, they're playing discipline, and they're playing as one. And they're making plays, defending the pass and covering up zones pretty dang good. So they're 6th best with only giving up 165. Then sacks. This is an issue for them with Bosa being out. They are one of the worst in the NFL. They've only gotten 5 sacks through these first 4 games, and that puts them at 26th best in the entire NFL. No bueno on that. Obviously, they have to get more pass rush. Bosa being out hurts them a ton, but we'll see if that changes and they can scheme guys up, right? And then turnovers. They're also near the bottom or one of the lower half teams with only 3 takeaways, which puts them at the 19th best in the NFL. Very interesting, right? They're playing sound defense. They're making plays. The run stuff hasn't been great. They've been holding teams out of the end zone, but they don't get to the quarterback and they don't take away the football, which is kind of surprising. They're a solid defense. So, hey, with all that said, I still think this defense is pretty dang good. They're still productive. They still can make the stops and force teams to kick field goals or make them punt. But that benefits the Rams, who have had some pass protection issues, who have had times where they don't look good on the O-line. Luckily, they don't get to the quarterback a ton, and luckily, they don't force teams to, turn over the football either. So that's good to see as well, at least from the Rams' perspective, right? But with all that said, Rams Nation, what are these keys to victory to beat the 49ers, right? Well, I'll start with the offense, Rams offense versus 49ers defense. So with the Rams offense, I think you have to attack them to the outside. Let's run to the outside. Let's see how good you are, Gross Matos and Michael Williams at defending the run. Let's see how you can set the edge with Kyron Williams or Blake Corum running those outside zone stretch runs or whatever name you want to call it, or even counters, right? When you pull the guard or you'll pull the tackle or you'll pull the guard and the tight end. It's something we like to do, GT counter, where you fake like you're going to take the handoff one way and then the running back goes the other way, right? You see Stafford fake the handoff one way and then turn the opposite way and then you run to that side. Those are more outside-ish runs. I think we'll have a chance to be successful at that. And, of course, just running the football in general. This team gives up yards on the run, but I think let's attack the outside and let's see if those edge defenders could set the edge, can stay strong. They have times where they don't look like they can. I want to see it, and I think that's a great way to attack on the ground. Now, through the air, of course, we're going to feature Puka Nacua a ton and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? They're good at defending the pass. And it's going to be about Matthew Stafford. Can he be disciplined and not make a hasty decision too quickly, right? We saw that against Tennessee. We saw it early in the game against Philadelphia. Let's get him in the groove. Let him survey that heavy cover 3 scheme that they run. As you know, Robert Saleh is from the Legion of Boom era where they were, kicking people's asses up in Seattle on defense with Hall of Fame players everywhere. They're going to run a lot of cover 3, which means they're going to have 3 people deep, which is the 3 in the cover 3. And there's going to be opportunities underneath. Can Stafford be patient? Can he hit those ins and outs and flat routes and et cetera, et cetera? Can he be patient with that? And then also, I think it would be key for Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford to exploit those seams in that cover 3. So with those 3 people deep and everyone else underneath, there's those little seams or soft spots, people like to call it, where that's a point or an area you can attack where no one's going to be guarding in that zone coverage. Can Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, can they be on time and in rhythm to hit those seam routes, whether it's Higbee up right up the middle, whether it's Nacua out of the slot going up the field, or those in dig routes in between those areas where defenders are? That's going to be key and critical. And can Matthew Stafford continue to look off defenders, right? Looking left, looking right, whatever direction, and stare there long enough where they can fool a defender to be like, oh, Stafford's going to throw that way. And he did it against the Colts this last game on that Davante Adams touchdown. Looked one way, moved a defender out of the way with his no-look stuff, and then throws to that open area. It's going to be key and critical. They're going to try to confuse Stafford. They're going to try to fool him at the line of scrimmage and do a bunch of stuff. Can everyone just stay cool, calm, and collective and attack what the Niners are giving them in the pass game? I think those are the main keys to victory. Run to the outside, run the ball in general, stay disciplined with that, and then in that cover 3 heavy scheme, attack short when it's there, and then can you hit those open seams, those soft spots where there are opportunities to attack that cover 3 scheme, whether it be ins, outs, seams, all that stuff. Now, flipping to the defense, Rams defense versus 49ers offense, regardless of the status of Christian McCaffrey's production, they have to sell out just like they did against the Eagles, just like they did against the Colts. They have to sell out to stop Christian McCaffrey in the run game. Let's not be the first defense to let Christian McCaffrey go off this season in the ground, or on the ground, I should say. Yes, the O-line has not blocked well. Yes, Christian McCaffrey has not found the open lanes because they are not blocking well on the ground. That don't matter. The Rams have to sell out to stop the run. And whether Brock Purdy plays, he's injured with the turf toe stuff, and that's not good for his long-term season health, or it's Mac Jones again. Make those 2 guys have to beat you. And, of course, who is going to be responsible for Ricky Pearsall if he plays? Who's going to be responsible for Demarcus Robinson near the goal line, as he is a touchdown maker? He was great for us last year. He's going to try to get many touchdowns this game, I feel, get some revenge on the Rams for not wanting him back. And, he had a DUI, and the Rams didn't want to deal with that. And that's unfortunate, but that's how it unfolded for him. But who are going to be the matchups when we get there? And then, of course, the biggest one, when McCaffrey goes out as a wide receiver, when he's running routes out of the backfield, who is going to be responsible for him? I would like to see Quentin Lake. I think he's the only guy that can handle that. That's still going to be a tough task for him. And, man, that's going to be really interesting to see. So I think in passing situations, you say, screw it. Let's bracket McCaffrey if he's out wide. If Ricky Pearsall's out there, then let's get Emmanuel Forbes on him, as he's probably the only fast receiver that can handle it. And I know Kobe Durant and D. Will can run too, but again, sell out to stop the run. And then where's Waldo? Where's Christian McCaffrey in the passing game? And then also, where's Ricky Pearsall if he plays? And where is Demarcus Robinson at near the goal line? That's going to be key and critical. And let's get pressure on this O-line who has not performed well, whether that be blitzing, stunting, regular four-man rush. Let's confuse that quarterback, whether it's Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. I think those are the keys to victory. Sell out to stop the run. And where are the Waldos? McCaffrey, Pearsall, Demarcus Robinson. Let's make it a tough day for those quarterbacks. And then with that, everyone, man, how about some early score predictions, right? We know that we haven't got the full injury report, right? We haven't got the official who is going to play, who is not, who is questionable, who is doubtful, all that. But I think let's pull it up real quick as I talk about it. And this is all just a guess, right? Higbee, Havenstein, Steve, Colby, Cameron Kitchens. Majority of these guys got veteran rest days. Majority of these guys seem ready to go. But if you look at the San Francisco 49ers side of things, Gross Matos is dealing with stuff. Juwan Jennings with his ankle and rib haven't practiced in a couple of days. Ricky Pearsall with the knee hasn't practiced. Brock Purdy with the turf toe issue hasn't practiced. The other receiver, Watkins, hasn't practiced. I mean, you got a lot of guys. Mykel Williams, one of their starters at the edge, with the oblique. He's been limited. He'll play, but that's an issue for any defender. Those core muscles, that's tough. Their linebacker, D. Winters, is dealing with the knee, but he was limited. Mac Jones practiced for them, luckily, but they're dealing with a lot of stuff, man. Again, no George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk. They're dealing with a lot right now. And with all that said, I take that into account with my early score predictions, everyone. What do I think is going to happen? What do I think the Rams are going to do? They're going to win this game or they're going to lose this freaking game. But I think they're going to win this game. I think the 49ers are just too beat up. I think they're going to play well against us. I think they're going to try to upset us. And again, they are first in this NFC West division. They aren't some slouch. There has been times in the past, I think of that 2020 matchup during the COVID season, where the Rams were clearly more talented than that beat up 2020 49ers team who were dealing with gazillion injuries themselves. But the 49ers went to SoFi Stadium and whooped around that Rams team. The score wasn't outrageously like they blew them out or anything, but with a bunch of backups in, Jared Goff didn't play well. The defense wasn't opportunistic, and they let up crucial downs and touchdowns. And that team didn't play well. And that was against a beat-up 49ers team who were missing tons of important players then. This has a similar feel to it. A team like the Rams, who is definitely more talented with all the guys who are healthy and available more than this 49ers team. But that 49ers team is coached well. No matter if it's the starters or backups, they're going to play tough. They're going to play hard. So I expect this to be a nail-biter, truthfully. And any division game in this NFC West is always a nail-biter, it feels like, other than maybe a couple times, every now and then. But I expect the Rams to win 20-20. I expect this 49ers defense to give us some issues and to play well overall with Saleh coaching them up. And we'll kick our field goals. But I think that'll be the difference in this game, right? They're beat up on offense. We're going to see if Pearsall and others play at all. That'll be big news coming out on Thursday morning and leading up to game time. But I think the Rams, more healthy, better roster right now. And that should be the difference. But I have this 23-20. And I will be there at the game, Rams Nation. And I will be there repping blue, as you should too. As we know, there are going to be a lot of 49er fans out there. That's just the truth about a team in California and a team not in LA for a long time. A lot of LA people just veered towards San Francisco, with the 49ers, having a lot of good years since the Harbaugh era back in whenever that was, 2010, 11, 12, 13, around that ballpark, if my memory serves me correctly. And man, you have to show up in blue if you're going to the game, everyone. Show up in blue. I know you want to wear your new Nike Midnight Rivalries jersey, right? You got a Puka jersey, you got a Verse or Stafford, whoever else. Or you want to wear your modern throwback white, or you want to wear the classic white, or a yellow jersey, or even that Super Bowl alternate black jersey, or whatever you got. But when we play the Niners, I think it's important to wear blue, show up in blue. So there's a contrast, right? It's a good classic rivalry, right? All those 49er fans like to talk crap and be like, we're going to invade your stadium, Levi South, yada, 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 yada. Whoop-de freaking do on all that, right? Hang the banner up for them. Oh, you attendance champions at SoFi, yada, 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 yada. But I think what you can do, Rams Nation, if you're going to the game like I am, wear a blue jersey, whether it's a classic one like I have on currently, or if you have any of the modern blue jerseys, wear blue. Let's get that contrast, red versus blue. And I think that would help out a ton. And also just look pretty cool as the dynamic of this Rams 49ers uh, rivalry match continues on prime time, everyone. But again, show up in blue. I think that's ultra important for this game, as we don't want everyone to think that, oh, it's just all entire sea of red. No, 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 no. There's plenty of you Rams fans out there. I know you'll show up and you'll be out there, but wear blue. Wear blue. So everyone at home can see that you pulled up to the game. But man, Rams Nation, I'm excited for this game. I'm excited for everyone to see how good this Rams team is, how good they can be with the national spotlight being on them. And this is a battle for first place, right? Rams lose. Niners have 3 division wins in the NFC West. They'll have a victory against the Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals. That's super valuable no matter how beat up they are. So the Rams got to win this game. They got to treat this like a playoff game. And I know it's not. We still have many months of football to go, but these matchups matter. They haven't played a bunch of NFC teams. They've played the AFC South a bunch, and they've lost their one NFC game against the Eagles. So all these matchups matter in the playoff standings, not just to win the West and host playoff games, but to make the playoffs in general. They got to start winning some NFC games, and this is their first opportunity to do that. And it's a double whammy. NFC opponent and an NFC West opponent. And with a win on this Thursday, the Rams should propel themselves in the first place if, the Seahawks, don't continue to win a bunch, and worry about them later down the road. So, hey, Rams Nation, hope to see you out there. And again, one more time, if you're going to the game at SoFi Stadium, show up in blue. I think that should be mandatory for these type of matchups. And hey, blue jersey, blue and yellow. Looks great. Looks freaking great. So, hey, no matter where you will be, whether you're at SoFi Stadium, whether you'll be at home watching the game, California, East Coast, West Coast, the northern part of the hemisphere of planet Earth, the southern, the eastern, the western, no matter where you are on planet Earth, rep your Rams, wear your jersey, wear your gear, wear your hat. And man, I'm so damn excited to see our Rams have an opportunity to win the West, put themselves in first place and in front of the whole world. Let's see what these Rams are all about. But never forget, my fellow Rams Nation, go Rams.